The speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Terence Crawford. I mean, skill-wise, I think he's a better fighter than Canelo.
With Crawford going up, I believe he can put a beating on anybody 154, 160.
Terence Crawford just lit up Canelo Alvarez live on TV, unapologetically calling himself the better fighter. He didn't shy away from the fact sure Canelo's got size and power, but Crawford claims he's got the speed, the reach, and above all, the raw talent to shut that down. He even threw shade at Canelo's past opponents, saying none of them brought the heat or skill he brings, though he added a half-hearted no disrespect to soften the jab. As for critics doubting him, Crawford made it clear that doubt is his fuel. He gave Canelo his props, calling him a great fighter, but made sure to remind everyone that his pinpoint technique and ability to adjust make him a different beast. Crawford fully believes he can outbox Canelo, and whether the fight happens or not, he's putting the world on notice he's more than ready.
I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out. From Kirkland to Amir Khan to just...
Don't do
obviously,
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not.
Kovalev was older. He does.
Billy Joe.
Don't get me wrong. He does have a lot of power, but all those guys that you named is not as skillful as me. I'm sorry. No disrespect to none of those fighters. The skill level is night and day.
So how do you see a fight with Canelo go?
It's a tough fight. Canelo is a great fighter. Like, I always had respect for Canelo, but I just believe in my skills. The fact that people doubt me, it just fueled me even more. Try to get the fight even more. And I'm watching them, I'm like, man, I can beat this dude. I've been fighting people bigger than me all my life, and I always came out on top. You gonna get hit. It's a fight. He gonna get hit too. It'll be good.
Jeff Mayweather broke down the upcoming clash between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, and he didn't sugarcoat the reality. He pointed out the clear contrast in their styles and laid it out plain. Crawford's got the skills, no doubt, but Canelo's been ruling his weight class like a king. For Crawford to win, Mayweather says he'd have to fight damn near flawlessly. One bold observation Jeff made: both guys are the same age, and no one knows when the decline will hit. They're still sitting high on the pound-for-pound list, but even a tiny slip in sharpness from either one could tilt the entire fight. In a matchup this close, it's not just about who's better, it's about who's still at their best.
Terence Crawford. I mean, skill-wise, I think he's a better fighter than Canelo, but Canelo is also a great fighter but he owns that weight class that he's in. So I would just say that I think that Crawford has to fight almost a perfect fight to win, and take advantage of Canelo's mistake.
Mayweather believes Crawford absolutely has a shot thanks to his sharper skill set and knack for exposing mistakes, but he's not delusional either. He admits this could be a razor-thin fight, one where Crawford edges it on points or barely comes up short. Climbing multiple weight classes is no joke, and Crawford's got his work cut out for him. Still, if he can keep his rhythm and stay technical while absorbing Canelo's power, he's got a real shot. In the end, it's going to be a clash of action, and experienced Canelo's been living in those heavier weight classes, giving him the physical edge. But Crawford's fight IQ and ability to adjust on the fly might just cancel that out. If this fight happens, it's more than a battle, it's a brain versus brawn chess match over 12 grueling rounds, and Crawford's only path to victory is to outsmart and outbox a bigger, meaner Canelo from bell to bell.
Both guys are aging, and you never know. You never know when they're going to show their age. So it could be either one of them that does that. But I mean, I just lean to a Crawford because dude has so many skills. And I mean, I just see that him possibly winning the fight by decision, but could also lose a close decision.
Teddy Atlas brought a bold take to the Crawford vs. Canelo showdown, diving into boxing history where smaller, sharper fighters almost never outgunned the bigger, stronger ones. But this time, Atlas admitted the tide might be turning more and more people are starting to believe Terence Crawford could be that rare exception. The little guy who topples the giant, just like in the old catchweight days. He challenged the narrative around Canelo's size, questioning whether fans are blowing it out of proportion instead of seeing it as beatable. Atlas argued that Crawford's ring IQ, slick footwork, and lightning speed might just be too much for Canelo's raw muscle to handle. The real fight, he said, shouldn't be about brute strength, it should be about the art of boxing, hitting without getting hit. And Crawford, he might just be the master of that art.
I believe we had the Crawford. It looked like we had the Crawford. We were talking about that. Can a really great small guy beat a really good big guy, you know? We were getting into that mind frame again. Some people were saying, oh, Canelo's too big, forget it. But we were getting into the right mind frame, the right with this great sweet science, with this sport that goes back longer than any other sport in the world, where catch weights used to be in the 20s to 30. Little guys beat big guys, and it wasn't that unusual. So we were starting to get into that frame of thinking. Okay, can this great guy Crawford, can he, instead of looking at it as a disadvantage that Canelo is so big?
He made a powerful comparison: boxing shouldn't just be bullfighting, where the matador always ends up slaying the bull. Sometimes, even if it's rare, the bull can outsmart the matador. That idea is what pulled Atlas into this fight. People were starting to believe the impossible might happen. But then came the frustration. Atlas hinted at his deep disappointment with boxing as a whole, pointing out that just when the sport it starts to catch fire, something always shows up to kill the momentum. He didn't spell it out, but the message was clear. Politics, greed, and missed opportunities have haunted boxing for decades, robbing fans of the legendary fights they deserved.
Maybe he'd be too smart, too slick, too quick, you know what I mean? Too special in those areas, not to allow Canelo to use his size and his counterpunching and everything else. And that's what the sweet science is about. You know, it's not supposed to be just about, letting a bull run out into the bull ring and then wait until the matador puts a spear in. It's supposed to be about the bull actually having a chance to outslick the matador, which don't happen too often. So now we were starting to get into interesting grounds. Okay, people were buying into it. Yeah.
Conor Benn weighed in on Crawford versus Canelo, and he didn't sugarcoat how close this fight could be. He sees it coming down to razor-thin margins. Ben believes Terence Crawford's elite skills, versatility, and fight IQ make him a nightmare for anyone between 154 and 160 pounds. But when it comes to Canelo, that's a whole different beast. Canelo's not just powerful, he's seasoned, talented, and battle-tested against the best in the world. Ben's basically saying that while Crawford can outclass most guys in that division, Canelo isn't most guys. He's the type who can take out a slick, technical boxer with one well-placed shot. Still, Crawford isn't just a puncher, he's a surgical technician in the ring, winning with brains, accuracy, and strategy. That's what makes this matchup electric. It's not just a size versus skill story, it's about who can stick to their game plan and break the other man's will first.
Going up, I believe he can put a beating on anybody 154, 160.
But not 68.
Nah, Benavidez is...
Canelo. Yeah.
Oh, Canelo. I think he's a smart fighter. He doesn't rely on his power. Crawford ain't a fighter who just relies on his power. And then Canelo, when he's fought Belenga, then fought Ryder, Munguia. It's even. I think it'd be a 50-50 fight if Crawford fought.
Joe Rogan gave major props to Saudi Arabia for shaking up the boxing world, spotlighting Turki Alashik's efforts in making long-awaited mega fights finally happen. Rogan praised how the Saudis cut through the usual red tape, politics, network wars, and just made the biggest fights a reality. When it comes to Crawford versus Canelo, Rogan didn't hold back. He straight up dismissed the weight class concerns, saying Crawford's skill is on another level, so sharp, so precise, that physical disadvantages don't even matter. To Rogan, boxing isn't about who hits harder or weighs more, it's about who's smarter, cleaner, and more strategic. And Crawford, in his view, checks every box. He's proven time and again he can adapt, outthink, and dominate. Sure, Canelo's a veteran with a stacked resume, but Rogan believes this fight hinges on one thing: technical mastery, and that's where he sees Crawford holding the edge. To him, it's not the weight gap that matters, it's the skill gap.
The elite of the elite boxers, to a man, to every one of them, they're disciplined. And they stay focused. I'm so excited to see this fight with Canelo Alvarez because I think the Saudi Arabians have so much money. They're throwing so much money at boxing. And the guy who's the head of boxing over there wants to make that fight happen. I think Terence Crawford, forget about the 3 weight classes. I think he could beat Canelo.
I think he can.
Eddie Hearn pulled back the curtain on the behind-the-scenes chaos of making Canelo versus Crawford happen, pointing straight to scheduling as the main headache. He revealed that while a deal was on the table, it didn't come together in time for May, and Canelo wasn't willing to budge from his traditional Cinco de Mayo weekend, but things shifted. Canelo's focus turned toward becoming undisputed at 168 pounds, and Hearn made it clear, if that happens, a Crawford fight instantly becomes even bigger. He also underscored just how massive this is for Crawford a chance to go for a third, undisputed title, something that would cement his place in boxing history. It's legacy-defining high-stakes stuff. But once again, boxing's red tape and timing issues threatened to mess it all up.
Issues around the whole situation was they'd agreed the Crawford fight, but they hadn't agreed a May fight, and Canelo wanted to fight in May. And there aren't really a lot of options, but by beating Skull, you can become undisputed. And I feel like the fight with Crawford as an undisputed fight is pretty cool, because Crawford's undisputed at 47 and 40, and he could become a 3-division undisputed champion.
Edgar Berlanga weighed in on the upcoming clash and kept it real, reminding everyone that in boxing, anything can happen. He gave Crawford his flowers, calling him a generational talent with elite skill, high IQ, and unmatched adaptability. Berlanga pointed out that Canelo's only true edge is his size. He's naturally the bigger guy, and that might factor into the fight. But when it comes to pure boxing fundamentals, Berlanga believes Crawford has the upper hand. He stressed Crawford's movement, precision, and ring intelligence, subtly throwing shade by suggesting Canelo falls short in those areas. While he acknowledged Canelo's experience and greatness, Berlanga made it clear Crawford is the more complete technician. His view challenges the lazy narrative that size dictates victory. In Berlanga's eyes, Crawford's sheer talent could bridge the weight gap, making this fight way more even than most fans think. Bottom line, he respects both, but he's leaning toward the guy with sharper skills.
Good friend, my brother, Terence Crawford, wants to fight Canelo.
Yeah.
Just from your expert opinion, knowing how Canelo fights, what he's like in the ring, I know you haven't been in the ring with Terence, but what do you think of that fight?
I truly believe, that, anything can happen in boxing, you know what I'm saying? And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that favor Canelo is that, is his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better. You know what I'm saying? But Crawford is a legend, bro.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can't count him out. You know what I'm saying?
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back when talking about the idea of Terence Crawford jumping up 3 weight classes and packing on 21 pounds to face Canelo Alvarez. He called it flat out insane. He compared it to Rocky IV, where Apollo Creed goes toe-to-toe with a monstrous Ivan Drago, a fight that was doomed from the start. The message of this kind of leap isn't just risky, it borders on reckless. Smith clearly doubts the fairness or logic of such a move, suggesting the whole thing feels more like a flashy spectacle than a legit competition. He even addressed Crawford directly, saying it might be time to let it go, that this dream fight could be more fantasy than reality, no matter how skilled Crawford is. Smith argued that chasing down a guy who's not just in another weight class but built like a tank might be a waste of time and energy. His warning was clear. Greatness is knowing your strengths but also knowing your limits.
Things should be gone. The notion that Terence Bud Crawford should move up 3 weight classes, 21 pounds, to fight Canelo Alvarez. He's entirely too small. Jamel Charlo already proved that. Y'all remember that scene from Rocky? Remember that scene from Rocky 2? When Carl Weathers was Apollo Creed and his trainer was like, can I be honest? I saw you beat this man within an inch of his life. And he kept coming. He wouldn't go away. He's wrong for us, baby. He's wrong. Let it go. Apollo couldn't do it and lost fight number 2. Trained him for fight Rocky 3 and then got killed in Rocky 4 by Drago because he couldn't let it go. Bud Crawford needs to let it go. Too small.
Carl Froch didn't mince words when weighing in on the potential Crawford versus Canelo fight. He's seriously concerned. Froch pointed out the massive jump Crawford would be making, going from lightweight all the way up to super middleweight, a leap across 3 weight divisions. And it's not just about fighting a bigger man. Froch sees this as a major red flag. He emphasized that at 37, Crawford isn't some young, flexible contender, and at 35, even Canelo is approaching the back end of his prime. At that age, adapting to big weight changes becomes a real struggle, but Froch insists that's not the biggest problem. The real issue: no rehydration clause. Without it, Canelo could easily step into the ring over 175 pounds, maybe close to 14 stone, and That spells danger. In British terms, Frock believes Crawford won't just be facing a heavier guy, he'll be facing a much stronger one. To Frock, this isn't a fair fight. It's not about skill or tactics, it's about brute force and size. And in his eyes, Crawford's technical brilliance may not be enough to survive the physical mismatch he's walking into.
All three weight divisions, for me, it's a big issue. He's not a bigger man. I mean, he's 37 years old, Canelo's 35. They're both sort of at the end of their careers. Crawford, I'm not going to say he's old, so that's going to be a major problem, because as you're older, you do want to step up the weight divisions because it's harder to take weight off. Neither of these guys are taking weight off, so that's not an issue, but there's no rehydration clause. And the issue with that is, for me, is the fact that Canelo can weigh whatever he wants the next day. So he's going to get down to 168 pounds super middle, and he's probably going to be getting in the ring way over 175 pounds, the light heavyweight limit. He'll be up at, like, in English money, it's going to be up at like 14, maybe towards 14 stone. And there's no way that Terence Crawford's going to be that heavy. He's going to be coming up to 168, and it'll only be a...
Carl Frock kept digging into the Crawford versus Canelo matchup. And while he gave Crawford his props, he didn't hold back on the risks. Frock praised Crawford's unbeaten run, his dominance across weight classes, and his status as a even three-time undisputed champion. That kind of resume, Frock admits, puts Crawford in rare air, but he also points out the obvious: Crawford's nearing the end of his career, and this fight against Canelo is the ultimate gamble. It's a legacy-defining move, sure, but the odds are brutal. Canelo's not just younger, he's bigger, stronger, and packed with high-level experience. The lack of a rehydration clause means Canelo could enter the ring weighing significantly more than Crawford, creating a serious size and power gap. Frock admires Crawford's guts and willingness to dare to be great, but questions if this might be one challenge too many. Both men have crushed nearly every opponent in their paths, but Frock reminds us Canelo has been beaten before, so greatness can be cracked still. This fight, it's an absolute mountain. Crawford's climbing it with legacy on the line, but the summit looks steep. That's all for today's show. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and correct me if I got any of Crawford's titles wrong. You always do.